Thank you very much. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters and most welcome guests. I would like to turn things over to our inspiration of the morning, Tracy Farrell. Tracy.
Good morning, fellow Toastmasters. As we all know, AM Lockport is worth waking up for. So Albert Einstein had one time said, may each of us learn from yesterday, live for today, and hope for tomorrow. So it is my hope that we learn from yesterday's mistakes and challenges. We soak up the joy of being together and living in the moment. And I hope that our speeches and evaluations bring us a better future. Fellow Toastmasters, let it be.
Thank you very much, Tracy. Now I ask that for everybody to mute their mics and we'll do our pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters and guests. I would like to welcome our guests this morning, and I'll start with Rosie. Rosie, please unmute yourself and tell us where you're from.
Good morning, fellow Toastmasters. I am currently in Burlington, Ontario, Canada, just north of you. I'm originally from Vermont and came up here a couple of years ago, and I'm heading back to the States now, and I'm going to be landing for a year in Gasport, New York. So one of my first tasks was to find a Toastmasters group. So I got online and found you. I'm an ACB, CL, PM5, and I'm working on my Pathways Visionary Communication at this point. I'm happy to be here. Thanks so much.
Welcome aboard. Thank you so much for joining us. Our Area 11 Director, John Elwell. John, good morning.
Yes, good morning, Eric, and good morning to all of my fellow Toastmasters here this morning. Such a pleasure to see so many friendly faces, from those that have helped during my tenure to those that competed in the Toastmasters competition levels. It's great to see all of you this morning. And a special congratulations to the club in general for getting to select distinguished in this month of April. It appears as if one more check mark gets you over the top into the President's Distinguished Clubs, which keeps what I would believe to be decades of success with this organization. So I'm anxious to participate this morning. I'll turn it right back over to you, Eric.
Thank you very much, John. Thank you very much. Who else do we got for guests? Pam Gorman from Rhetorical Roar. Good morning, Pam. I know she's our frequent guest.
It's been a while. It's a bit early for Pam, but I am here today. I'm very excited to be here. Looking forward to your guest speaker and all of my friends at AM Lockport.
Pam, thank you very much. Good to have you aboard. Chris, good to see you again. Thank you for joining us. Good morning. And our special guest this morning, Michael Davis. Michael, good morning.
Good morning,
Tell us a
Eric.
little about yourself.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I'm in a little town just southwest of Buffalo called Cincinnati, Ohio. We got snow, and it made me think of Buffalo yesterday because we're not used to that on April 21st. But I have been a Toastmaster, not quite as long as David, but I did start back way back in the 20th century, back in 1994. And Toastmasters, I know it's cliche, it literally changed my life because I started out in the financial planning field. And because of my experience and all the people I've met, I became a speech coach, trainer, professional speaker, and author about speaking. So I'm very happy to be with you this morning. I love early morning clubs. There aren't enough of them.
We appreciate you coming on this morning, Michael. We look forward to hearing your speech. All right. I know Margot has an announcement for us. Margot.
Good morning, everyone. Yesterday, I sent out an email from Matthew Sweeney and the FFA. They are participating in a statewide competition and need to present it. However, cannot do that right now, given the state of things. So there is a virtual thing. I want to thank the Toastmasters who read it or who watched it and commented. So if you have a moment today, please look at his presentation by his students and move on. Some of you may remember Matthew when he was in middle school. I used to drag him to the meetings and Kate's nodding, and he won a number of state competitions with your help, and he wants to give the best to his students. So please log on if you can today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Margot. And Larry McKenzie, you have an announcement?
Yes, Mr. President. I will be adding to the chat today our proposed slate of officers for the next Toastmaster year. Please review that. If there are any nominations, we ask you to please either send them by email to the nominating committee, which would you can send it directly to me. And next week we will present our slate of officers for a vote. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Larry. And Larry is our immediate past president, and he'll be putting it in the chat for our office proposed slate of officers for the next year. And just a reminder for club officers, we'll be having a quick officer meeting immediately following this meeting. So if anybody would like to stick around for that, please do. And with that, I'll turn things over to our Toastmaster of the day, Dr. Anne-Marie Lenhardt. You're on mute, Anne.
Good morning, fellow Toastmasters and all of our distinguished guests. Welcome to our meeting. Just a couple of household things first. Beth Banks, are you present?
Yep, she's there.
And then
I'm
how
here.
about Phil Russell?
I are here.
Everybody's here. That's wonderful. So, positive psychology, habits of happy people is our topic for today. Let me start with just a simple question, and that is, how many people have belly buttons? Raise your hands, please. Okay, I think I see most of the people here. All right. What are belly buttons used for? What is their purpose and function? I know they're in the middle of your body, but what is the function of a belly button?
Collect fern,
Collect
dust.
That's a wonderful guess. That's a wonderful guess. You're close. Belly buttons are made to collect lint. And so if you look at your belly button, I don't know how many people want to look down at this point in the Zoom meeting, but you'll see that there's lint there. If you have a belly button, there's lint. There's only two people that I know that never had a belly button. One is a young man, and he was born without a belly button. And the other one is a famous stripper, and she had it surgically removed. So otherwise, everybody I've ever met has had a belly button. Now you can do two things with this lint in your belly button. Number one, you can let it collect over the years, and it gets big, and it could get a little bit greasy from the sweat in your belly button. Or you can take it out and you can look at it and you can wonder about it and you can analyze it and you can say, let's deal with this and let's move on. So, fellow Toastmasters, let's move on to looking at the lint in our belly button and seeing if we can't change our lives in terms of positive psychology. Positive psychology, the term was coined in the year 2000 by Mark Seligman. And his psychology is in keeping with the more contemporary points of views in terms of therapy. So we have the traditional types of therapy, which include the psychoanalytic, Freudian, Jungian, TA type. And they mainly focus on more of a negative model, negative in terms of looking for problems. And then we have the positive, where positive psychology lives, and that has to do with behavioral and also solution-focused reality therapy, etc. So if I were your therapist and I was a traditional psychotherapist in the psychoanalytic vein, I would ask you one important question before we began. And that is, what is wrong in your life? What are the problems? Where should we go? How can we fix things? If, on the other hand, I was a positive psychologist and I was your therapist, the key question I would ask is, what is going right in your life? What do you love? What are your strengths? What would you like to expand upon in terms of our work together? So you can see that they're very different. One of the key things in positive psychology is reframing of negative self-talk. Think about what goes on in your head all the time and how it affects your gut. You have to think about it up here for it to register down in your gut. So if you have negative talk, for example, fear of public speaking, you may be ruminating about past failures, fears, kind of judging yourself in a negative way, and you're going to feel it in your gut. Positive psychology would help you to reframe those negative thoughts into positive thoughts so that you would think about your last evaluation. You would think about positive things in your life and how self-confident you are, and therefore you would not feel the anxiety. So let's begin our meeting today with a toast. A toast to the courage of AM Lockport members and our guests to examine the lint in their belly buttons and to focus on building habits of positive thinking and strengths instead of weaknesses. Hear, hear. So to begin our program with a list of jobs and duties, as we do every week, our word master, who in my mind is a distinguished hero today because he came in and volunteered at the last minute, and I really appreciate that. Tom Moran, what is the word of the day, Tom?
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters and our guests. I got a little distracted when you were talking about belly buttons because I did look down. I found a potato chip, and I was wondering, I held it up and I was wondering, I know whether I should actually eat it or just put it aside. So I did put it aside for now. But what I didn't put aside is the word of the day. The word of the day today is contentment, a state of happiness and satisfaction. To use it in a sentence, he found contentment in living a simple life. Now, I'll include this in the chat so that everyone can take a peek at it every once in a while and remind themselves. And also, those individuals who are our guests today may not know that it is required if you were chosen to do table topics. It is one of the requirements, other than timing, that you use the word of the day, contentment. So I'll be keeping track of those individuals who have used the word throughout our meeting, and I'll be reporting back to you, Madam Toastmaster, when you call upon me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tom. And I'm glad you put that potato chip aside for now. That's excellent. Okay,
Well,
now the
now
on.
I put it aside.
I'm sorry, what?
I put it aside for now. I'm not saying I'm
That's
not
good.
going to.
I hope there's no lint on it if you eat it later. Okay. So the all master today, Carol Ann Halstead. Carol Ann, would you tell us what your duties are?
Carol, can you unmute yourself, please?
Today, I will be counting the ums, ahs, pregnant pauses, and filler words, and reporting back, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Carol Ann. All right. Next is a very important job, our grammarian, David Jones. David?
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. And you've already started challenging me because of all your big words. Having a hard time following them. But for the first point in my life, I am definitely in a state of contentment as everything's going well. But as grammarian, I'll be listening for various good and challenging words. For instance, you shouldn't be saying more better. But the main thing I like about AM Lockport is the quirky and fun words, which I like to call, where to go? Philisms. Phil's always has the best word. So if you can use some philisms, you get extra points. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, David. We'll be mindful of our P's and Q's for sure with your watchful eye. The quote master today is Thomas Helwig. Thomas, would you give us a quote, please?
Good morning. Well, contentment is something that I try to find in my life under all the stresses, and I find it with music. And two songs that very much capture what we're talking about today. The first one is by Bobby McFarlane. He says, "In this world, you may find trouble, and if you worry, you'll make it double. Don't worry, be happy." And my second is a Disney song by Tim Rice. Tim Rice sings Hakuna Matata. What a wonderful phrase. Hakuna Matata. Ain't no fancy craze. Means no worries for the rest of your days. It's a problem-free philosophy. Hakuna Matata. I am Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Thomas. Kuda Matata, that's excellent. Next is our gesture, Philip Russell. Phil, would you give us the gest, please?
Good morning, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, our guests. How wonderful to see you. Starting off with, very young, I had this positive feeling about Gasport because our friend Rosie brought up Gasport. Well, I spent from 8 years until high school, every Saturday morning, pumping gas at my father's service station because that was my job. And Gasport's a wonderful little town. And when it's not busy, you sleep. As I got older, and in the late 70s, I was in Arizona coaching with a great head coach. What a wonderful man. He was the old guy at the time. And he had moved 30 times in 33 years to different places. His attitude was this: I started at the top and have worked my way down. That's why I'm here at this high school. And we said, Ed, you know Murphy's Law? He said, yeah, he's an optimist. So that is one of the most important things is Murphy's Law. You know what that is. If it's gonna go wrong, it will go wrong. Now, I do have a psychology joke for you. What's the difference between a psychologist and a magician? A magician pulls rabbits out of hats, whereas a psychologist pulls habits out of rats. Madam Toastmaster.
Excellent, Phil. Rabbits and rats out of hats. Wow, that's profound. Okay, moving on to the timer, a very important role for today. Jill, Roaring, would you please tell us about your role?
Well, thank you, Madam Toastmaster. My role this morning is to keep us in time. Table topics, speeches, and evaluations all are timed objects, timed speeches. And doing them, keeping them timed keeps us all in a state of contentment because none of us want to sit here all afternoon waiting for a speech, which if we wait all afternoon, it's been a very long meeting and we don't want that. That is my role today. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Jill, and we will try to end on time today. Okay, so next would be the Tech and Gesture Master, Larry McKenzie. Larry.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Welcome to all of our guests and fellow Toastmasters this morning. My job as the Gesture and Tech Master is to report later in the meeting on how everyone's use of the technology is. And we're going to be checking, so, make sure that if you're having a drink or whatever, if you get up to leave, make sure you turn off your video. And also remember, when you speak, you turn on your mic. When you don't speak, you mute it. That way, everything works well. I will report back when I am called upon later in the meeting. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Larry. And next is our Quiz Master, another important role. Jen Zapla, would you tell us what you're going to do, please?
Yes, I will be quizzing all of you at the end of the meeting on your listening skills. I will listen carefully throughout the meeting and prepare this very, very important quiz. You have to pass this quiz to have a very contented day. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
I hope we all pass with A pluses. Okay, and last, certainly but not least, and most importantly, is our esteemed colleague, General Evaluator, Stephen Smith. Stephen, would you please describe your role for us?
Yes, I will. My job today is to evaluate the evaluators, evaluate the Toastmaster of the meeting, and the meeting as a whole, the whole general tone of the meeting, and see how everything went today. And I will do that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stephen. And now we're going to move to an important part of our agenda, which is table topics, impromptu speaking. And we have Beth Banks as our moderator. Beth?
Good morning, Madam Toastmaster. In keeping with the theme of the positive attitude, things like that, I decided to go with some questions that had something to do with that. I would like to first call on John. Would you be willing to do table topics, John?
If it's John, me, the answer is yes.
Okay.
There's so many people here. It's hard to see everybody's name.
I know. I had to really check to make sure, okay, were the people I'm planning on calling on actually here? Did they leave? What's going on? So one of the things we've discussed in our Toastmasters group is, do we stand when we're speaking? The advantages, disadvantages. What I want to ask you about is to think about the standing in terms of our attitude. Do you think standing helps our attitude at all? Why or why not?
Well, thank you for that question, Madam Table Topics Master. Let me start with the fact that as you see me sit down, you can't tell that I'm 6 feet 4 inches tall. Having said that, I do believe standing matters, and it matters in circumstances based, frankly, on your height. And I'll give you an example. When I went to work for a company called Buffalo X-Ray a number of years ago, I walked into the interview room with the president of the company, who happened to be about 5 feet 4 inches tall. I was standing with a tall brown suit, and he looked at me and said, "Please sit down." I did. We finished the interview. He said, "I'll offer you the position on one occasion or one reason." I asked him what that reason was. He says, "You're too damn tall." Now that was coming from a perspective of 5 feet 4 inches. However, he then began to equate things like your size can be an intimidating factor. So when you ask the question, should we stand, should we not? I suppose it's situationally based. And you can use your body, your physique, to send messages. You can get big, it's a defense mechanism for small animals. You can shy down. It says I'm conceding. You can do a number of things that will use your physique. Now, does it make me content to stand in every meeting? No, absolutely not. It is purely situational for me. So, standing in a Toastmasters speech, I believe, adds dimension to your words. Doing it on Zoom is less effective. So again, I believe that physical stature and the use of standing is situationally based, and you have to use it appropriately. That comes with wisdom of years. Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master.
Thank you, John. And I messed up there. I didn't make sure to remind you that it was 1 to 2 minutes, but you're an old pro, so you already know that. Very good thoughts there. You and I walking into a room would be even worse because I'm barely 5 foot. So I definitely understand that use of height or not. However, it's impossible for me to get larger. So yes, I tend to stand for some things. My next table topics person, please remember to use the word contentment. Hopefully we are content today. Rosie, would you be willing to answer my questions for table topics?
Absolutely.
How do you think doing something kind helps your attitude? And have you observed this particularly more during COVID or not?
Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master. The question is, how has kindness helped me, and have I viewed kindness more often during the pandemic? I am a strong believer in kindness and optimism. In fact, I wrote a book on the actual idea that thought becomes things. Whatever your thoughts are, tend to bring that vibration back to you. And kindness fits into that factor, as does gratitude. When you offer kindness to other human beings or other souls on this earth, the vibration that you send out and they receive doubles. And I bring you back to gratitude. If you're thankful for things that have not even happened, they tend to happen for you. The opposite of Murphy's Law. So yes, I absolutely believe that kindness is a factor in the way you live and the way others live around you. The pandemic, I believe, has been positive in many ways. It has caused us to look at our own home, go within, understand our own souls, and also put ourselves out into our immediate community. Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master.
Beth, you're muted.
I clicked, it didn't work. That's the story of my life. Clicking and having it not work. Yes, typical. My next person I would like to ask a question to is Larry Eggert. Can I pick on you today?
You certainly can. That's why I'm here.
Oh, that's why we come, so we can be picked on. Okay, now I'm getting it more. You know, I'm not an older member. I'm getting these things. So thank you, Larry. My question for you is, do you think giving someone else a smile helps you and your attitude?
Well, thank you for the opportunity, Madam Table Topics Master. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters. Does a smile work? Well, I'm looking at it in two perspectives. One is leadership and one is from my years in police work. And I'm deciding which way to go with this. I think I'll go with the police work thing. So aluminum foil and Mars. So we went on a call one day and a relative called about a person that was in some mental health crisis. When we walked into the apartment, the person was very agitated and the entire inside of the apartment was covered in aluminum foil. All the outlets, and for those of you, Dave, I know you can relate to this, the old rabbit ears on the TV, even the rabbit ears on the TV had aluminum foil on them. And as I was discussing with this person the reason for aluminum foil, I was told that it was to keep out the rays from Mars. As you well know, Mars does exude rays and they can affect your mind. So certainly an interesting tale, but as I walked in, the person was obviously in some serious crisis. And as we talked, it got a little contentious, and I was always taught in police work to use a smile because a smile is something that disarms people. It puts them at ease. And so as I was talking to this person, I was smiling, not so much to use a smile. Actually, it was kind of funny to see all the aluminum foil, quite frankly, and talking about people on Mars, but it also, the smile eventually calmed them down and we got talking. And so we were going to take this person away for some treatment. And as we walked out the door, I was discussing the mental health situation, and the person looked at me and said, you know, I'm sane because I have papers to prove it, because they've been in therapy for a while. And they looked at me and said, can you prove you're sane? Because I have papers. I smiled again and we walked out the door. Madam Table Topics Master.
That was very good, Larry. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'm a firm believer in smiling at people. Sometimes I've actually had people ask me, why do I smile? So why do you smile so much? Isn't that a good thing? I've always thought smiling was a good thing. Now, of course, our table topics, we are required to use the word contentment, and also make sure we stay within the time frame. So I'm going to call on Tom Moran. Did our table topics people use the word contentment?
Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master. I have to tell you, I was very excited when we first started with the word contentment. You yourself have used it 3 times. Dave used it once, Thomas used it, Phil used it, Jill used it. However, then we went to table topics where it is required. And I believe a couple of people missed out on using it today. That would be Rosie, and I didn't hear Larry use it either. So that leaves John as the only table topics person that qualified by using the word today. So let's hear their times now. Thanks.
Thank you, Tom. And Jill Roaring, you are the timer. How did we do in time?
Well, time we did much better, Ron. John was 1:59, Rosie was 1:30, and Larry Eggert was 2:08. So they all qualified on time. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Jill. And I believe the tech master, somebody does the voting for, there we go, for table topics. And if you would please vote, and I will turn the meeting back to our Toastmaster, Anne-Marie.
And you're muted again.
Yes, I think we should make an exception in terms of the use of the word of the day with our many guests today. So all 3, if that's okay with everybody, qualifies for the voting.
I think Rosie used it. I think she said
Yeah.
content.
Okay, all right. Well, vote for John, Rosie, or Larry, please. And while we're doing this, I think I'll just add a little filler material here. So I'm going to go to my share screen. All right, so getting back to positive psychology and the habits of happy people, there are many strategies that positive psychologists would use to increase our happiness. We've already talked about number 1, positive reframing of negative self-talk, which is central to the work of positive psychologists. But there are many other strategies, too long a list to talk about here, but mindfulness training in terms of daily meditation is very important. And as Rosie said so eloquently, cultivating compassion and gratitude is important. Building our resiliency by self-care techniques should be implemented in our everyday activities. Improving relationships, new coping skills, increasing personal strengths, etc. I just want to go back for a minute to the focus on gratitude journal. And I tell my students all the time in various classes, keep a personal journal. This is one of the most powerful techniques in terms of learning. It should be a place of safety and comfort, where you don't have to use grammar, where you're not going to be judged, where nobody's going to read it. But try to write at least 3 times a day, just for a few minutes, and pause for a minute and think about what you have to be grateful for. The people in your life, the activities you're involved in, maybe small, simple things that were done that day. And I guarantee if you do this on a daily basis, your happiness will increase, and also your experience of a positive life. So that's a very important trait. Right, so going back here to the meeting. All right, so we've reached the point of a very important part of our meeting, which is our speakers. So we have 3 speakers for today. And the first one is Kate or Catherine Orr, and she will be evaluated by Sylvia Baptiste. So Sylvia, will you tell us what Kate's objectives are today, please?
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our guests. We have many this morning. It's great to see. Kate Orr is working in pathways. Her path is dynamic leadership, and her speech this morning is an level 3 elective. The purpose of Kate's speech this morning is to introduce or review basic presentation software strategies for creating and using technology to support or enhance a speech. Also, the purpose of Kate's speech, she will demonstrate her understanding of how to use this presentation software, including the creation, it says, of slides or technology, and incorporating the technology into a speech. Now, Kate's going to deliver a well-organized speech on any topic this morning, and she's going to use the software, presentation software. So, Madam Toastmaster, her speech is 5 to 7 minutes. Do you have her title?
Yes, I do. Thank you very much, Sylvia. Just as a brief introduction, fellow members and guests, Kate has been a long-time member of AM Lockport Toastmasters, and in fact, she is serving as our president this year. We're very grateful for that. She has wonderful leadership skills. Over the years, she has given numerous speeches related to conservation and the environment. Today marks the 51st anniversary of Earth Day, and so we will begin our speaking portion of today's meeting looking at our habits and what simple steps we can take to save our planet and ourselves. So, Kate Orr, Earth Day every day, Kate Orr. Please help me welcome Kate.
Good morning, fellow Toastmasters and our honored guests. Earth Day, held on April 22nd today, has been a rallying point for the environmental movement. The first Earth Day was a watershed event that turned 20 million people out into the streets. Now, every year, over 1 billion people in nearly 200 countries are mobilized for cleanups, tree plantings, faith gatherings, and more. While today might be the one day that really drives that point home, the big changes will come when Earth Day is celebrated every day. I'll share my screen for the rest of my presentation. Every day is Earth Day. Can you hear me and see the presentation? Wonderful. We need to change our old habits of contentment into more ecologically minded ones. What can you and I do every day? What simple things can we do? Here are 5 simple ways to conserve resources and create a better world. What simple things can we do? Most of these result in financial and/or health benefits for you as well as the earth, and everyone wins. Number 1, use LED lighting. Illuminate responsibly and save money. My husband Wally preaches about this constantly. LED bulbs. Use them. Wally's birthday is also today. I don't think it's a coincidence that he's a conservationist in many ways, and I've learned quite a lot from him, and some of you have as well. Did you know that an LED bulb uses just 1/10 of the electricity of a regular incandescent bulb and can last about 25 times longer? I'm a fan now, and I see why he constantly talks about them, even when we go into stores or restaurants, not just our own home consumption. LED stands for light emitting diodes, if you're curious. That science will be for another speech. LED bulbs are more expensive up front, but they offer huge savings and they pay for themselves incredibly quickly. Some won't even need to be replaced in your lifetime, people. This also reduces the materials used to manufacture and ship the bulbs and massively cuts on waste in old bulbs being thrown away. Number 2, why not try Meatless Mondays with your family and save money? Save money. I'm not a vegetarian by any means, but hear me out. Eating an animal-free diet just one day a week can have major health benefits plus a major environmental impact. If every American began having Meatless Mondays, 1 billion fewer animals would be eaten every year. This would drastically reduce the amount of water, fuel, and waste associated with animal feeding, processing, and transportation. Eating meat is actually one of the most environmentally damaging things we can do, and it's not sustainable at all. Conservationists and most doctors worldwide actually recommend plant-based diets, both for your own health and that of our Earth. Even if you're not ready to give up your carnivorous life permanently, please consider reducing how many animals you eat. Start with Meatless Mondays, just one day a week, good for your body, good for your wallet, good for our planet. Now, the Reduce, Reuse campaign, Recycle, Reuse, Reduce, has been around for decades. Please keep it up, my fellow Toastmasters and our guests. Number 3, reuse. Reuse your empty jars, old clothes, bottle caps, paper towel, cardboard rolls, anything. All of these and much more can be repurposed. Nearly anything can have a second life. Just Google it. If you're not crafty or can't find a good use for certain items, ask me, I'm happy to help, or ask Jess Tomino. Our former club member is constantly asking for supplies for her art studio on her social media. Number 4, recycle. In our area, recycling companies make it fairly easy. You put the items curbside in the recycling container. We don't even have to sort it ourselves or take it to a recycling center. The very least you can do is your part. Number 5, reduce and save money. This one is the easiest to do and has the biggest impact. Just reduce your consumption, AKA buy less stuff. Do you or your kids truly need that thing from the dollar store made in China just because it's cheap cost? If you want a new movie or your favorite band just released a new album, download it instead of buying a physical disc. If there's a book you'd like to read, easily borrow it from your local library or get the ebook. Reduce the things in your life, especially single-use plastics. Step away from the plastic. You've heard me say it 100 times, especially the single-use bottled water. Bottled water results in the use of 50 billion plastic water bottles just in the US alone. And how many get recycled? Less than 10%. 10%. Bottled water may be marketed as a pure alternative to tap water, but only half of the bottled water is actually from public sources. And guess what? It's not even held to the same purity standards by the EPA that tap water is. Folks, it's a $15 billion industry. Don't let yourself get absolutely fleeced. Buying bottled water can be over 500 times more expensive than getting it from a tap. And if you're really concerned about the taste or perceived quality issues with municipal water, filter it yourself and carry a reusable bottle. In conclusion, you know you don't need to chain yourself to a tree in order to make a big difference and save our planet. To recap these 5 simple ideas you can do. 1, LED bulbs, use them. 2, Meatless Mondays, just once a week. 3, reuse. 4, recycle. 5, reduce what you buy and skip those single-use plastic water bottles, please. Fellow Toastmasters, we all can live Earth Day every day. It's not trite, it's not silly, It's not for just once a year. It's worthwhile. It's sustainable. It's not too late to make good changes. It's not too late yet. It's not too late. It's in all of our hands. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Okay, thank you, Kate. Moving on to our second speaker now, Jackie Kenny, who will be evaluated by Margot Sue Bittner. Margot, would you tell us her objectives, please?
I would love to. Good morning, everyone, especially after my speech last week, correct? For our guests, I gave a speech on how to evaluate. Jackie is continuing along her path, and she is doing the speech Connect with Storytelling. The purpose of this project is for her to practice using storytelling within a speech or giving a speech that is a story. I'll be evaluating her based on what she and I discussed last week at the Star Show. Her time, Mr. Timer, is 5 to 7 minutes. Madam Toastmaster.
Okay, thank you very much. So continuing on the leadership development path, allowing some flexibility and room to experiment in presentation methods. This morning, you will hear about a new experience Jackie had recently. And Margot, do you have her title? We can't hear you.
It was in the agenda, not giving away my shot.
Okay, not throwing away my shot, Jackie or Jacqueline Kenny. Help me welcome Jacqueline.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. I have found in life that you can incorporate those habits of happy, contented people in a lot of different ways. And one of them is to challenge yourself with new things, new experiences. I work part-time at the Mental Health Association in Lockport, and the Office of Mental Health in Albany recently offered us the opportunity to hold a vaccine clinic at our office. This was to accommodate people who have mental health issues, who may have been finding it difficult to get an appointment. They might have limited resources. Perhaps they don't have a computer. They might be very frustrated with the whole system. We agreed to do this. We had a few people in our programs who were very interested in getting that COVID vaccine. Some of them have underlying health conditions as well as mental health issues. So they were very much afraid of COVID. They have no transportation in some cases. So getting to Niagara Falls or Buffalo or wherever to get that shot also became an issue. This offer from Albany worked its way through our office and finally landed on Tara Porter's desk. Tara grabbed it and ran, and within a week she had organized our vaccine clinic. We decided to make it an outreach experience as well as a health experience. So we filled bags with a variety of items like stress balls, depression screening tools, sticky notes and pens. We made sure there was a little something for everyone there. Now, one of the things that we found was organization was key. We had a number of people coming through our office, and that number increased exponentially. We had maybe 10 people from our office who would be getting this vaccine. And then we offered it to people out there in the world, called friends and family members. And soon we had 50 people coming through our office in order to get the vaccine. this was a lot more than what we had initially thought would happen, but it seemed like a good idea. So oddly enough, one of the things that we had was calling our landlord in the office upstairs and offering it to them. They were very happy to partake. They decided to come down, even though it was last minute and they didn't have much of a chance to prepare. They didn't have much time to think about what was going on. And that might have been good in some ways. They might have had a little bit of time to think about it, and that might have been just what they needed to say, no, thank you. I don't think I'm going to be part of this. The staff that came from the Buffalo Psychiatric Center was amazing. They were very respectful of the people that we deal with. They brought them calmness. They helped when a few people got a little excited. Maybe it was overwhelming for them to be in that office space with so many people. We were so grateful for the nurses who passed people through with almost no agitation. And even though they weren't expecting so many people, it all worked out. We had enough people to use 50 doses, and we accomplished that because we had some cancellations. We had some backup people that we called and they came in. And at the last minute, when we knew there was going to be one dose left, Tara ran up to Laporte's Diner and made an announcement. Someone in there wanted to get the vaccine, hurried on down the street and joined us. And every single dose was used. Everyone was taken care of and left feeling protected and content. I encourage everyone to get this vaccine. It's a help to the whole world. It's going to reduce the number of cases and the severity of those cases. So I had an amazing experience, something new, something I never expected to be part of. I'm certainly not a healthcare worker per se, but sharing this was something that I'm so glad I was able to do and watch people become happy about the fact that they protected themselves and they protected those around them. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Jackie. That was very inspirational. Moving to our third speaking slot, we are very lucky today to have a special guest, Michael Davis, and he will be evaluated by our own Mark Campos. So Mark, could you tell us what Michael will be doing?
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our numerous guests. Good morning. It is my privilege to be evaluating our guest, Michael Davis. He is on the Presentation Mastery Path Level 2, and his project is Understanding Your Communication Style. The purpose of this project is to learn about different communication styles and identify your primary style. Madam Timer, his time is 8 to 10 minutes, 8 to 10. And Madam Toastmaster, do you have his introduction and speech title?
Yes, I do, Mark. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So our guest speaker today is the founder of Speaking CPR and author of the book on storytelling. And in addition to that, he is a presentation skills trainer. So we're very lucky to have him with us today. His mission is to help speakers like you effectively use your most influential business communication tool, which is your stories. You're about to gain insight into a new way to think about business storytelling that will help you connect with others. In his short presentation, you will learn two important things. One, a metaphor that better helps you understand the purpose of business stories. And secondly, the 5 elements to an effective story. You'll be able to immediately put these to use in your daily presentations. So our speaker today, Michael Davis, Test Drive. Michael Davis, please help me welcome Michael.
Michael, I don't need these stories. I just need to give people facts and figures. This is something I hear a lot, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, when I talk to business people about storytelling. Now, whether you have salesperson on your business card or not, you are in sales every day. Whether it's Kate selling us on the benefit of protecting the earth or Jackie telling us to go out and get our COVID shots, we're selling ideas all the time. And I've struggled for a few years to find a way to convince business people and sales professionals why they need to tell stories, and then came up with this idea recently. Now, this is audience participation. I'll ask you to put some answers in the chat box. You're welcome to play along with me here in this talk. Imagine that you are in an auto showroom. You are looking at the car of your dreams. This is the one you've wanted your entire life. Now, this is a brand new dealership for you. My question is, you've never met the salesperson, never met the dealer. This is the car of your dreams. How are you feeling about dealing with the car salesman or the dealership? Let me know how you're feeling about that. Just put 1 or 2 words in the chat box. Excited? What else are you feeling? I know it's early, but you can play along with me here. Dread, says Mark. I want the car. I want that car. Dread, apprehensive. Notice no one has written contentment, right? Buying a car is a stressful experience. And the point that I try to make with my salespeople, clients, and also business leaders is these are the same feelings that our prospective clients have when we're talking with, if they've never met us before. Now, in the car example, think about this. Would you spend a large amount of money? I mean, let's talk about your dream car. Right? It could be 50, could be 60, $100,000 car. Would you buy that car sight unseen, just walk into the dealer and say, here's my money, give me my car? Probably not. Most likely you'd want to sit in the seat. You'd want to take a nice look at the interior, make sure it feels comfortable for you. You'd want to take it out on the open road. You'd probably want to see how it handles in traffic. So all of these are key elements. You'd like to take that car for at least 1 test drive. Well, wouldn't it be great? Again, you don't have to be a salesperson. Whatever idea you're selling to the world, whether it's save the earth, get your COVID shot, or selling a product or service, wouldn't it be great if people could test drive you? Well, actually there is. It's called your business story. It's specifically your client success story. This is where you talk about someone who, when you met that individual, was in some kind of pain, distress, and needed help. You came into the picture, you provided a service, a product, or an idea. And by the end of that story, they've accomplished their goal, they've overcome their struggle, and now they're living a better life. Here's a quick example. I met my client, Patty, back in 2009, and her first words to me were, Michael, I've done something really stupid. I've agreed to give the keynote address for the Women of Excellence dinner, and I wish I hadn't done that because I'm not sleeping at night. I wake up in the middle of the night thinking about this. My stomach is in knots. I don't eat well just thinking about it. I need help. Can you help me? Now, I knew Patty by reputation, and I said, you know, you and your husband are really successful. I said, why are you so afraid to speak? She said, oh, I'm not afraid to speak. My problem is I don't know when to shut up. Right? I'm the president of our foundation. And when I get up in front of our board and I talk, I get so excited. I have all these ideas, and then I go off topic and I start to ramble and I go way over time, and my board gets really upset with me. And they are so afraid that I'm going to embarrass the foundation when I give this speech. And I am too. This is a really good opportunity for us. And if I embarrass us, it would be terrible. And she said, I just want to help us get the word out about what we do. We're doing so much good. Can you help me? I'm really worried about this. So we had a meeting and we decided to work together. And 30 days into our relationship, I realized she really does have a problem with not shutting up. It's every time we'd work on her speech and we'd get it tightened up, she'd come back and there'd be new ideas. And so 30 days into it, I sat down with her and I said, I think you need to fire me, Patty. I need to give you your money back. What do you mean? I said, you are right. You do have trouble with going off topic and all this. And I think, and I said, this is not about you. It's not a criticism. I just don't think I'm the right coach for you. You need someone else to help you because this isn't working out. She went home. She thought about it. She called me the next day and she said, all right, Michael, I don't want to sound cliched here, but it's not you, it's me. She said, I haven't really been taking this seriously and you've given me this process and I'm not working. I promise I'll work. I don't want to work with someone else. Let's keep working together. All right. We agreed to try it one more time. All right, jump ahead 4 months. It's the night of her big talk. 320 people are giving her a rousing standing ovation. And not just because she got done in her allotted time for the first time in her life. It was because she gave a fantastic presentation. It was compelling. It had stories that were engaging. They elicited a lot of laughter and a few tears. And when it was over, she came running up to me and she grabbed my hands and she said, you're not going to believe this. I had people literally throwing money at me after this was over. People were giving me checks for the foundation. That's never happened before. And people were volunteering their time. Michael, this is so great. This was so much fun. I can't wait to do this again. Wow, what a change from the woman I met about 6 months earlier. And her story doesn't end there. A year later, we're sitting down over lunch and I said, well, have you been doing any speaking lately? She said, oh my gosh, you wouldn't believe this. I've been in charge of raising money for our local Boys and Girls Club that we're building. And I've been out speaking all over the place. And that has helped us to earn over $1 million in donations. Michael, thank you so much for the work we did. Not just that, but for sticking with me because I knew I was really struggling there for a while. Thank you for sticking with me and teaching me this process because now I look for opportunities and I love speaking and I know that it's helping people out in the community. Now, question for you. And this is not a backdoor sales pitch, by the way. Just put a wire note in the chat box. If you were in the market for a presentation skills coach, would you be open to talking with me for 30 minutes to an hour about what I do based on that story alone? I'm not asking, would you hire me on the spot, but would you want to learn more about what I do if you were looking for someone to help you become a better speaker? Yes or no in the chat box. Yes, 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 yes. All right. Now, here's a follow-up question for you. Other than my introduction that Dr. Lenhardt gave me, why would you agree to talk with me? I didn't tell you anything about my fees. Don't know anything about my business other than that I wrote a book and I've been in Toastmasters a long time. You really don't know anything about me, but you're willing to talk with me and take your valuable time. When I ask this question of people in workshops, they say it was the story. It was someone I could relate to. It was compelling. What you just did in essence was took a test drive with me about the services I offer through Patty's eyes. Now, the best part about my story is there's nothing special about me, what I do, or my story. That was a true successful client story. Whatever it is you do, whatever your vocation, you have those same kinds of stories. Jackie just told us one of a success of getting 50 people to get the COVID shot, either who couldn't at least at first didn't think they could, or they didn't have the means to, or they just didn't think it was a good idea. That's a success story, right? 50 people who weren't vaccinated now are. When you give people an example of what it's like to work with you, that is the equivalent of taking a test drive of your services. So, and we have just a short amount of time here. I'm going to show you very quickly what the arc of a good story is in business. It is, and this is true for hundreds of years, thousands of years. This is the arc of a story. You get a relatable main character who's having some kind of problem. And that problem is creating conflict in that person's life, not just external conflict, but inner turmoil. You come into the picture with a product, service, or idea. You work with them, even if you may have some problems in the beginning, like Patty and I did. I had to, get her over her tendency to go off track. Once you start working well together, that client has a success. And because of that success, they're living a new and better life. This is how you use stories to help people test drive what you do, because when you take them on a test drive, they don't feel that high level of anxiety, uncertainty, and skepticism that a lot of you wrote about in the chat box. Ultimately, they're going to feel good about working with you, and they're going to feel content. So as I wrap up, if you would like to take a deeper dive into storytelling, I do have a complimentary resource called 52 Storytelling Tips. It's a series of weekly 5-minute audio lessons. They're sent right to your email inbox. The idea is to build one idea on top of another. If you'd like to, again, no cost or obligation to you. You can use the QR code if you're familiar with using QR codes. I will put a link in the chat box at the end of my presentation. If you would like to have a 30-minute talk, if you do a lot of business presentations and would like to talk about more about how to use stories, same thing, you can get on my calendar, scan the QR code here. I will put this in the chat box also. In closing, I will say to you that the most valuable business communication tool you have is your story. The reason is, whatever it is you do, you have competitors, you have other people who do what you do, but nobody can duplicate your specific client story. No one on earth has my story with Patty because it's our experience. You've got the same thing. Go out there, and that's how people can test drive you and feel good about working with you. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Michael. That was excellent. Now, could I have a Word Masters report from Tom, please?
Did you ask for a Word Master report?
I did.
He says, save that till later.
That's so caught me off guard here. Actually,
goes last.
Yeah, David, you interrupted before. I want to. I checked with Rosie, and she said she did not use the word. So my job is with word of the day is actually I'm the word master. So I'm up here. Everybody else is down here. So you have to listen to me. Mokeless used it in the chat. David used it when he talked about Rosie. Jackie used it in her speech. I didn't hear it in any of the other speeches, although it could have been used. I was so engrossed with the other speeches that I may have missed a word or two. So that's my report. I'll do a summation at the end of the meeting also, Madam Toastmasters. So.
Excellent work. Thank you so much, Tom. And Jill, could we have a timer's report, please?
Yes, we can. Kate came in at 6:42. Jackie at 6:20. They both qualified. Michael came in at 12:12 on a 10-minute speech. He was way over. Back to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Jill. So let's please cast our vote. It sounds like Michael was disqualified, but since he's a guest, we'll leave him in the slot. So please vote for either Kate, Jackie, or Michael, please. So while we're doing that, I'm just going to do another short screen sharing here. So we talked about positive psychology and happy people habits, and there's a whole list of benefits to positive psychology, and these are just a few of them. If you're a positive thinker and you're trying to build on your strengths, you are doing a number of positive things for your self-esteem. You're improving your relationships, you have a more positive view of the world. And most importantly, you're increasing your sense of meaning, which is kind of an existential point. Here your feet are planted, you're in the present, you're living and enjoying the present. You're not talking about the past necessarily, you're just breathing deeply and enjoying where you are. It improves your life satisfaction, your communication, your concentration. And it definitely does reduce your stress and anxiety. Instead of feeling hopeless at times in your life or maybe depressed, you're feeling optimistic about the future. It enhances health. There's a lot of research on this. Fewer doctor visits, fewer physical problems. And most importantly, it helps you develop a natural conflict resolution skills as you meet the daily challenges in your life. So many positive results. All right, so I assume everybody's voted now. And we're getting to the third and most important part of our agenda, which is the evaluations part. So our first evaluator is Sylvia Baptiste, and she will be evaluating Kate Orr. Sylvia.
Morning again. Kate, your enthusiasm came across this morning. Your speech this morning was all you, and it was everything that you stand for. You could tell you have such passion for Earth Day and the 5 things you wanted us to remember: the LED light bulbs, Meatless Monday. I found that one a little interesting. I have heard that before, but you went into depth about it, how it saves you money and the environment and things, and that I never thought of when I heard Meatless Monday. So you actually educated me personally on Meatless Monday. Not that we're going to do it, but you educated me. Reuse, recycle, reduce. What else could you say? The 3 R's. You sat for your speech, and I think that worked. You had to, because you could tell that you needed to be close to your I'm not sure if you're using a laptop, tablet, or computer to move the slides along. And I like that at the beginning of your speech, you were asked everyone if we could hear you and see the presentation, to get that confirmation now at the beginning so you could correct it if they couldn't. That was a good thing to do. I like that. Back to the computer thing, I think that being close, like I said, to move the slides along smoothly, it was very professional, and it looked like you practiced and it worked. That's something I have to conquer. Your voice and language, you drew us in with going loud at certain parts and back to normal, and moving into the camera a little bit and moving out always draws the crowd in too, and you kept our attention. But to challenge yourself, and I'm not sure because you were reading from the screen, you weren't looking at the camera the whole time. And I don't know, I can't do it. I'll be honest with you, I can't do it yet. I haven't conquered that. So that's something I'm going to work on too. But the speech was you, and you brought everyone into the speech, kept our attention. Your competence and the knowledge that you have on this topic, it showed. The gestures, I'm going to go backwards a little bit, back the sandwich approach. Now we're going back again a little bit. I think you could brought in a little more gestures. It's hard with the Zoom because you're only in a little box. And I was drawn to your background. It kept my eye on your background. So maybe if you didn't have the falls, I don't know why, but another type of background, my eyes wouldn't keep going to the background behind you. You looked professional, you act professional, you were confident again, like I said. And I enjoyed your speech. And I always did. And I was so excited to hear that you were speaking today because I haven't heard you speak in a while. And I think with the gestures also, I keep going back and forth. I know I shouldn't do this, Margot. But if we were at Tom's Diner and you were in front of us, you would have had something else to draw us in more. And it was good. Great speech, Kate. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sylvia. That was excellent. Moving to our second evaluator slot now, we have Margot Sue Bittner evaluating Jackie Kenny. Margot.
Thank you so much, Anne Marie. Jackie, you are always a joy to listen to. You smile, your voice uplifts us, it gives us hope. I always am thrilled when you're speaking at our meetings. The other thing about your speeches, Jackie, is I always learn from you. I loved how you tied into the theme right up front in your meeting. That's something I don't think I would have thought of doing, but I loved how you do that. You gave us your background. You established yourself as an authority in this topic. And then you wove it into the theme and you wove a timeline in there. So why this topic and how everything happened. I love the angle for your camera. You were centered, which is something I challenge with, especially on an iPad. And you even used some gestures. You had your camera low enough that we could see your gestures. It's a very current topic. So you answered the question, why this topic, why now? And you gave us contentment and confidence in the process of what we go through. I've had a couple people say, well, I don't want to get the shot because I don't know what it's going to be like. Everybody in this room now understands the process. You gave us a place to get our questions answered. You had some very kind words today, descriptions of your co-workers. I loved your use of props, even sharing your screen. You just sort of did it and there were the pictures. It was very, very natural. And you expressed the challenges you faced in a way that would help all of us. But what are some improvements you could make today, Jackie? Although you were centered, you have a glass doors behind you. And sometimes when you moved and made gestures, the reflection actually bounced back at me. So I don't know if you need to put a curtain up or something behind you, but that might be one suggestion. And I'd like to see you punch up the ending a little bit. Maybe say, give us something to do. Reach out to me if you have questions. Have you gotten your vaccine? Do you know somebody's nervous? I can be a resource for you. But your enthusiasm, oh, there's a but, I should have said, however, your enthusiasm, your excellence in your comment, that's absolutely wonderful. So for those who are guests and new to our meeting, the joy, always contentment, kind words, improvement, enthusiasm, the whole package is Jackie. Thank you so much for speaking today, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Margot. Our third evaluator and final for today will be Mark Campos evaluating Michael Davis. Mark?
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, our guests, and especially Michael. We were treated to a truly dynamic speaker this morning. What an outstanding job he did today. I was intrigued by the speech title right from the get-go. I loved the story. I was definitely reeled in. I wasn't quite sure where you were going with that story, and then it hit me right between the eyes. How obvious. I was really reeled in. Let's talk about Michael's skills as a speaker. Clearly, as I said, very dynamic speaker. We talk about it a lot in AM Lockport, that there are speaking skills that exist in both in person and in the Zoom world, if you will, and your Zoom skills are outstanding. I loved the level of your camera. It's very important that the camera's not pointing up at you or too far down. It was very much at eye level, which I thought was great. Your eye contact with the camera was exceptional. It requires such a high level of discipline to maintain that through the speech, because you want to peek at what everyone else is doing and how they're reacting to you, but you remained razor focused on that camera, which was excellent. I love the phrasing and pacing of your speaking style. You just have a really smooth delivery and it's highly effective. Perhaps most impressive to me was your multitasking skills. I loved your ability to speak, to manage the chat box, move to screen sharing, and you never missed a beat, never stumbled. So really impressive. Now, building upon this impressive array of speaking skills, I think your speech could have been even more effective in just one way that I can think of. And what I'll call it will be the visibility of your gestures. See, your body movement told me you were gesturing, but clearly I think you were in a standing position. And when you're standing, your arms and hands, your natural position is down low. So I could see that you were gesturing, but I couldn't see your hands. And this is something that John had mentioned in table topics, that in certain settings, being seated might be even more effective. So in a speech like this, where you're speaking to a camera, I'm in a seated position, my elbows are on my desk, my natural hand position is higher. You can see my hands a little bit more when I'm gesturing. So I think there's just a little bit more impact to those gestures when you can see your hands. The other alternative might be just to tilt the camera down just a little bit, back out just a bit, and then maybe we would have seen and captured the full effect of those gestures. The only other thing, obviously, as the timer indicated, was meeting time, but that's a minor point. Overall, I found your speech to be highly impactful. It really resonated with me. And it's a message I think we all need to take to heart, because you don't have to be a salesperson to adopt a message like this. And I'll give you an example of this. In my company, and I'm sure many others are the same, most job interviews are very heavily built around situational questions. Tell me about a time where you had to handle a difficult employee. Tell me about a time where you had to achieve a difficult objective with limited resources. And my advice to people is always to have your greatest hits at the ready. So when those questions come, you can easily plug them in to answer those questions. You're never more of a salesperson than you are in a job interview. So I would encourage everyone to take Michael's advice to heart. Be ready to tell your stories and let people take you for a test drive. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Mark. That was excellent. Jill, could I have a timer's report, please?
Yeah, I had to move things around there. Okay. The trend is continuing. Margot came in at 224 and qualified. Sylvia was 352. Mark was 354. Both of them were well over time. So Margot is the only one who qualified.
Okay, so that really simplifies things. Congratulations, Margot. You are our winner today for the evaluation. All right, now I'd really like to introduce our distinguished person who will give a general evaluation, Stephen Smith. So Steve, would you give the general evaluation, please?
Certainly. Well, hang on, let's shift here. God, you stuck on the rug. I can't. Ow! All right. Technical difficulties. Okay, well, we had a good meeting today. I like the way that Marie double checked to make sure everybody was here to fill the roles and that they were all filled coming into it, and we got off to a good start. And she had well prepared material for a theme of the day, which I found interesting. Now on to our evaluators. All three evaluators have done their homework. They knew what the speech was about. They were prepared to evaluate it. This is very good. They all did our standard sandwich approach by saying what they liked, and they all brought up some room for improvement. I do take exception to Mark Campbell saying that making time was a minor point. I do think making time is important. And we'll leave it at that. And I was satisfied with everything else about the evaluator's job. So good job, everybody. Now, did you want me to call for reports, or are you going to do that, man?
No, I think I'll do it. We're gonna
Okay.
have to
Sure.
rush, but I appreciate the gesture. We're gonna have to rush a
Certainly.
little
Go ahead.
because we're running short in
Yes.
time. But again, this is an important part of our meeting
Yes.
report. So the word master report, again, Tom.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. I'm going to declare the word today a overwhelming success, simply because of the fact that it started out so well. It did lag a little bit in the middle, but I am almost certain that there were several individuals who didn't have an opportunity to speak today, and I know that they would have used that word today. So I'm going to consider the word of the day a huge success today. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Tom. Moving to the master, Carol Ann.
We did very well today. Ashley, Anne Marie had a couple ums, a couple so's, and David Jones, a couple ahs. Larry McKenzie threw in his Beth Banks, a couple ahs, and there were a couple so's here and there, but on the whole, we did very well today, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Carol Ann. Next, our grammarian report, David Jones.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Jen started us off by challenging me by using the word can have a contented day. I thought she was making that up to mess with me. I looked it up and it actually is an adjective of contentment. So good job, Jen. Then Kate used the word trite, which means not boring. I also just wanted to look it up. Whenever we hear words, we should look them up. She also mentioned reusing old clothing, which we like to consider vintage, which Dave Licata has a vintage shirt on, which evidently is older than Eric. Jackie used the word per se, which is kind of cliche, so I wanted to look it up. And of course, I used a Google machine, per se, S-A-Y, which is not the proper spelling. It's per se, S-E, which means by itself. And it's also a restaurant in New York City. With that, back to you, Mrs. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much. Our tech and gesture master, Larry McKenzie.
Thank you very much, Madam Toastmaster. I will give a quick report this morning. Our tech report. We had 7 different members or guests, excuse me, using virtual backgrounds today. And I want to send out a kudos to our Toastmaster of the day, Dr. Lenhardt, for using a virtual background. I remember a few short months back when she was saying, how do I work this thing, this Zoom? So great job with that. I also want to send out congratulations to 4 of our different members who shared their screen today, and we're getting better with that portion of our tech. And we do have a few things to work on, such as the mute button. We still have to remember when you speak, you turn off the mute. When you are not speaking, hit the mute button. And our award of the day goes to 2 different people. One, Tom Moran, he had the stretch of the day, and he fixed his hair, but before he did that, he took off his glasses, made sure the hair was okay, then he positioned the glasses back in before he came back on camera. And last but not least, Dave Licata, who was very attentive to the speeches today, because when Jackie was talking about the reusable water, he had his and he was showing it to everybody to make sure that they would also, or no, excuse me, it was Kate, excuse me, with that. So kudos to everyone. Great job. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Larry. And last but certainly not least, our quiz master, Jen Zeppler.
I hope you've all been listening, because this will be the meaning of your day, whether or not it's going to be successful. Were you listening today? And I know a couple of you were, because I've already heard mention of some of my questions. So I'll start with, how old is Dave's sweater?
37.
Older than Eric.
Years.
37, yes. Does anyone remember who were the 2 people that did not have a belly button?
A stripper.
A stripper.
And a young boy.
Oh.
Yeah. I
And
don't
Adam.
understand how that happened.
All right, here's one for you.
Adam.
What kind of a potato chip did Tom find in his belly button today?
Fuzzy one.
Oh.
Tom, seriously, what kind was it? I don't think you
It
mentioned
was one of those ruffled ones.
A Ruffles one. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. How tall is John?
6'4".
6'4". All right. What does LED stand for?
Doesn't matter. Just use them.
Light emitting diode. Yes. And finally, I noticed today, this is a observational, not a listening skill. I noticed that we got a club grandma. Does anyone know who our club grandma is? David Jones.
David Jones, yeah.
All right.
Oh.
Those are my questions today. Madam Toastmaster, Madam Toastmaster, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you very much. That was a challenge, and I think we got an A+. We got most of the questions that were pretty challenging. Thank you so much. Now I'm going to turn the meeting back over to our president, Eric, because I know we're running out of time here.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Lenhardt. Wonderful meeting. And yes, I'm still a baby, and Dave, that shirt really is shining and is blinding me right now. So I'm going to cover you up for just a minute. And I'll read the results of our winners today. But before I do that, I'm going to ask our guests for feedback. So I'm going to start with Rosie. Rosie, how did you like our meeting today?
Thank you, Eric. I had a great time. It was so much fun to visit with all of you and meet some new people and hopefully meet you in person at some point, because I will be crossing the border right around May 22nd. I'd love to visit again. I know I'm allowed to come for three visits first. And I would love to invite everyone to Burlington Advanced Toastmasters group in Burlington, Ontario. We're an advanced club and we have a very unique style of evaluation. So I will give that information to Eric if you'd like to join. We're on the 2nd and 4th Mondays at 7 p.m. EST.
Thank you very much, Rosie. If you would like to put your club information in our chat, that'll be great. And we thank you for joining us, and come as many times as you want. Our guest, Pam, we haven't seen you on here in a while, but we would like to say hi. And what did you like our meeting today? Pam?
I always love this meeting. It is definitely worth getting up for. And I would also like to invite people to the Rhetorical Roar meeting tomorrow at noon. We actually are short an evaluator, but we have a fantastic guest speaker, Kay Linda Midget. If you haven't heard her, she also gives a very unique gift when she's evaluating and speaking. So if you would like to come and see her and help us with an evaluation spot, I'd really appreciate that. Noon on Friday, EST. I'm sure that Eric or Karen Stewart might post that information in the chat as well. Other than that, happy Friday, everybody. A smile is a curve that sets everything straight. Remember that.
Thank you, Pam. Karen?
This is so worth getting up for. 7 a.m. is an ideal time to start your day, especially if it's with Toastmasters. I did a search and found there's only one other club locally that meets roughly this time of day. It's the Downtown Toastmasters at 7:30 a.m. on Friday. Thank you so much for the theme of the day. It's completely relevant to me. In short, I was the most positive version of myself I had ever been in college, and it was in many ways the best 4 years of my adult life. And post college, one of the most negative versions of myself, and just found this whole meeting so worthwhile and uplifting. I was just talking with my counselor yesterday about some of the very themes that came up, and I look forward to visiting again in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Karen. Our Area 11 Director, John.
Thank you, everybody. What can be said that hasn't been said? AM Lockport is a rock solid club with rock solid architecture to your meeting. The execution of the meeting is exquisite. It is, in my view, the perfect blend between professional development and public speaking and an opportunity to have social interaction. Everyone here, it just extremely impressive. And all I can say is I'm looking forward to coming back. I echo Karen's suggestion about visiting other clubs with early starts or noon starts or afternoon starts. Just keep at it. If you're a guest here, come back. And you certainly could do worse by not coming back to AM Lockport. So wonderful club. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. And Michael Davis. Michael, how'd you like our meeting today?
I'll put it this way. Here's a suggested marketing tagline for you in the future. AM Lockport Toastmasters, better than caffeine. It's a great way to start your day. And I've been in Toastmasters since '94. I'm going to say this to your face. I'd say it behind your back. This is one of the best clubs I've attended. You're everything John said. You're professional. You run on time, except when your guest speaker goes over. But otherwise, thank you so much for the opportunity. One suggestion, and while I was speaking, just give your speakers, I should have known this. I couldn't find the timer. I was looking and it's like, where's my timer? I knew I was going over, but you might want to help the speakers, especially newer ones, to pull up the timer, make sure they're on the screen, because I should have known better. I was lost, but otherwise, love this meeting. I would love to come back for your speechathon because I need to do more speeches.
Please do. Thank you very much, Michael. I know that Chris was on and she left, but I'm guessing Kate, she'll be back next week. Perfect. Thank you. And I know Susanna Toledo, the club president for Rhetorical Roar, was on, and I hope she enjoyed the meeting as well. Now, since we're running short on time, I'd like to get into our winners today. Please help me in congratulating our Area 11 Director, John Bellomo, for Best Table Topics. Congratulations to John. Our best evaluator by default is Margot Subitner. Congratulations, Margot. And our best speaker today is Kate Orr. Congratulations to Kate. All of our speakers and evaluators and table topics, everybody did a wonderful job today. Since we're running short on time, I would like to adjourn the meeting. Please join us for social hour tonight. And please stick around for post toasties. And also, club officers are going to have a quick meeting right after this. And I wish everybody a happy weekend. And Sylvia Baptiste is our Toastmaster next week. So we hope you join us next week.
I am. And also, I have a theme already. I'm ahead of the game. Well, as you look outside and see an inch of snow here in Gasport, I thought life is a beach. So that's my theme, beaches.
All right.